Okay, hello and welcome to the Galen Eagle podcast. I'm your host for this session, Dr. David Aguilar, and normally I talk about computer science and technology and their impact on the state of education in Belize. But today we have a rather special topic to cover. In addition to teaching the computer science courses here at Galen University, I also teach a course on ethics, good governance, and transparency. This is, in fact, one of our university's core courses, one of our signature courses that every student needs to take regardless of their major because it's such a critical aspect of responsible, effective citizenship. And the material that we cover in that course is pretty broad, it's pretty diverse. We get to a lot of interesting things. Everything from the classical ethical theories you might find in a textbook on ethics to contemporary issues like racism, governmental corruption, and mental health. In fact, that last topic, mental health, is one that's really of particular interest to our students. It always generates some really good conversations. And in regard to that, in one of our sessions last semester that just ended in the spring, a student in that class, Miss Kayla Gongora, who's also a teacher at one of our local schools, she let us know about a very interesting program that her institution is involved in. And so I've invited her here to talk to us a little bit about this because I think it's really something the public should be aware of. In addition to that, we have with us here Ms. Christia Daguerre, who is Gale University's resident student counselor and a specialist in the field of mental health. And we're going to ask her to help us to contextualize and understand the importance of what we're discussing tonight. So, Ms. Gongora, Ms. Daguerre, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I'd like to begin by asking each of you to tell me a little bit about yourselves, and in Ms. Gongora's case, a little bit about her institution, where she works, and how this all arose. So, who'd like to go first?
I can, and then you can lead into your program if that sounds.
Okay.
My name is recently Dr. Christia Daguerre.
Yes, congratulations. Very good.
Thank you. I am Galen's mental health counselor as well as a criminal justice, sociology, and psychology lecturer here at Galen, and I'm excited to be here tonight.
Thank you for that. Thank you for being here.
Hi, good night, everyone. My name is Kayla Gongora. I am a teacher at Santa Elena Primary School. I have been teaching Santa Elena for the past 6 years. I really enjoyed teaching there. It's one of the schools which I have considered to love. Reason why is because there are different type of students that need a lot of help, uh, physical and mentally. I'm in the learning aspect, so I am passionate about that, especially when it comes to educating students. Um, why Santa Elena's? I've chose Santa Elena's Primary School. Well, because most of the time when people hear about Santa Elena Primary School, they would say that it is one of the schools that the students are somewhat a little challenging. They are also, it's a lot of work.
Mm.
And overall, it has uh, from infant one to standard six, they have 4 classes of each standard. They also have one special need uh, building, which is behind the primary school, and that one is on the same area, and they have students that are with special need. They they have 2 teachers for that special need institution, and the other we usually uh, would not actually mingle that much, but we would um, somewhat know that they're there, but at the same time just leave them at their by the to have them their space. So that's much about it.
Okay. And you're currently in our education program, right?
Yes, sir.
What was it that made you decide that now was the right time to continue your education personally?
Uh, well, I didn't used to do teaching before, uh, but when I saw that the students would usually come to at my house, they would usually I would see that they need a lot of help. So I have decided to, you know what, this is what I would like to do. I would like to teach students that to have a better future of themselves. So once I decided that, when I joined the education program, and then I started to like it.
Mm.
Then I noticed that, it's a passion that most uh, individuals would need if they really want to become a teacher. You really have to love it for you to become a teacher, because if you don't love it, then you don't. Don't. It's better not to become a teacher. You
Yeah.
have to love the teaching, and you have to love the students, and you have to love the work, especially the
Mm.
work.
And that's kind of how you ended up in my ethics class last semester, in the
Yes.
course of pursuing your degree. So yeah, we had quite an interesting sort of topics we were talking about there. And then when the issue of mental health came up, you were telling the class about a program that your school is involved in. Maybe you could give us a little bit of information about that program that kind of caught my attention. I said we need to talk about this because I had never heard of it before, and it's something I think that people should know about.
Okay. When I got there, the first before teaching, or when I started to teach, I didn't know about this particular building that was behind the school. It's behind the school. You won't be able to see it if you're just driving by.
Hmm.
So you have to go into the school, and it's right behind. There's a small building. It's just one classroom, and in that classroom, it's called a special need, whereby we have uh, students with autism. We have students that have for some particular mental dysfunction, and they have two teachers there, and those two teachers are the one that always guide those students or that teach those students. Usually, it's at the ages uh, between ages 6 and up to age 10. Those are the students that are
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
Huh. So they are the ones that they have breaks, they have um, games and so on when they're needed. It's just like a normal class. They would teach them. Some of them they would have teach them sign languages if they some of them are kind of they have deaf. If they can't see, they would have the books that would actually help them to read, would guide
The
them.
braille books with the little dots, right?
Yes, those ones there, and so they have different sections for different students that actually need. The ones with the mental health, if they have a particular or if they're older, they would actually, if for example, if behavioral problems, they would actually send them to the regular classrooms, especially if they are ages 10 and up, 10, 11, and 12. Then those students, they would go to the normal classrooms. Okay. And they learn as normal. We have uh, some in different classes that they would learn the same just like other students, and they would actually uh, some of them don't bring assignments. However, we have to guide them and see how they can how to bring their assignments, how to approach them, how to approach the parents for them to bring the assignments.
Well, some regular students don't do that either, so I guess that's nice. At least it's consistent.
Yes. Okay. Also, when we have, let's say, since it's a Catholic institution, we would usually have a mass, and we would get them involved. We would if we have, let's say, by standard or by division, we would have our mass service. We would include even the special needs and all other kids to be around, and usually, since the mass is only 1 hour, if by chance the students uh, with special need cannot stay longer than an hour, then they would quietly move into the go to their classroom. So majority of the time when we have activities, they would be at the back or somewhere around whereby they will not interfere with when moving around, or if they have any trouble of can't staying too long in the activity, then they would just quietly move into their area. So far, when we have had activities, the majority of them are very quiet. They are respectful, and
Hmm.
they're actually they are more respectful and more quiet than the normal ones. I guess it's just a procedure that they have done from since the time that they got there, but they are um, very respectful and quiet, and they would participate now and then, only in those activities. Last before COVID, we have had an activity whereby we did cultural day, and they did participate. They did their program, and it was really fun because we could have seen that they do have talent. That these children are, even though we may see that they have some type of not normality, but uh, they do have feelings, and they do need care, and um, they are willing to learn always, and they can learn. And they, once you see them, they will be able to, you say, you know what, they have more potential than what we think.
So you try to involve them as much of the regular activities as possible, which I think is a
Yes.
really good thing. You also telling me about a particular program where there's like socialization between the students with the special needs and the regular students, like special sessions where they spend time together.
um we would most of the time, well, when we have let's say any type of so whenever a particular student or students misbehave, um,
Hmm.
we would usually take them outside, or uh, we would say, you know what, these two students here, they are not they're special. However, we need to try to understand how they process information, how would they um, see things, and how they would actually learn. There was one student in one of the classes that I'm teaching, and he he's he doesn't really he how can I say, he doesn't do much assignments. However, um whenever they put them in groups, he would the other students that really know about him, they would actually get into groups. When it's time for to get in groups, they would get into groups, and they would actually help him. They would guide him. You know what, this is what you need to do. Okay, this is what the teacher said, this is how you should do it. And then the child, then there he would actually come, and he would do the work that the teacher is has requested. uh, when As most of the time they're very nervous when a teacher approaches them, and they always think that it's the wrong thing they're doing. However, we speak to the student, that to the students, to the class, that there is a particular student that will be coming into our classroom, especially if they have a special need. So we speak to the students, to the group of students, before the student goes into the classroom, or they are.
So this is done within the context of the regular class time.
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay, okay.
That's do it. And they most of, well, all of them do understand that. And then when the child jumps into the classroom, into the normal classroom, then that's when he feels welcome.
Okay.
That will make him understand, okay, you know what, I can learn this, I can do this. So the child doesn't feel shy, and the child will be even be more willing to do the work that is assigned.
Okay. And what interaction do you have with the parents? Because there's a stigma about mental health in Belize, certainly, as well as other places. So, are the parents aware that these things are happening at the school? What's their part to play in regard to these activities?
We would usually involve, like whenever a student goes into the normal classroom, we would speak to the parent, and then we would ask the parent if it's okay. We can maybe try it for 1 week or 2 days or 3 days, depending
Okay.
on how the child will behave, or how the child will react into the classroom. So the parent will give the okay if it's okay for the child to go into the classroom. Majority of the time, the parents do agree, because
That's
they
nice.
want the students not to only be familiarized with the students of their kind, but with normal students, with a normal environment, so that when they go out there, maybe go to the store, or they would go to the social world, then they will be able to defend themselves. So most of the time, we do have parents that are have a positive mind and that are willing to participate in
That's
the.
good to hear. And how successful are those integrations? Do the students tend to get along? Do they tend to have a positive experience in the classroom with their peers?
In some occasions, not all the time, it's a perfect environment. However, there are some groups of students, when we put them in groups, there are some group of students that have a better understanding than others. However, we would quickly remind other students about, their behavior, and about what we have spoken from the very beginning. And then they would quickly react, and they would say, okay, then yes, this is true, this is what I should do. And then they would continue. um, there are a few, very very few occasions whereby the child would really feel lonely, and
Mm.
that's when the child can't interact with the particular group. They would feel lonely, and then that's when they would completely like block themselves out, and or shut their minds, and they will not want to participate at all. And that's when we would either take them outside, or just go at a corner in the classroom, and we would speak to the child and say, okay, what is going on? How can I help you? Or how are you feeling? Is this what you really want? Or in which group do you want to be? And then the child would actually speak to us and say how he or she feels. And then we would say, okay, you know what, this group is not good for you. Let's put you in another group.
Okay. That sounds really positive. And I don't know if I just haven't been paying attention, but I haven't heard of any other Belizean schools doing this. So I think that's really good. Again, I suspect this is a pretty positive experience for both sets of children. Um, Dr. Daguerre, I would ask you then, what impact do you think this would have on these students? How do you think it will change the way that they perceive people of various strengths and weaknesses? I guess might be a way of saying it.
Thank you. Great question. And research does show when we integrate neurodiverse children into classrooms, there's many positive benefits. One being a reduction in school related anxiety, where the children who are neurodiverse will want to stay in school longer and engage in the education process. They feel welcomed, they feel like they're a part of the community, and on the other side, a reduction of stigma. These children are growing up with neurodiverse children in their classrooms, their peers during playtime, during schoolwork time. So that stigma is inherently fought because of that. These children see the neurodiverse children just as they would any other classmate. So
Mhm.
there's so many benefits from integration time as much as we possibly can in the school, because we know in a children's life, other than family, school is one of the most important things, right?
Sure.
So we can fight the stigma of neurodiversity and mental health disorders with our young children, and they'll grow up with this idea that everyone belongs, and hopefully reduce that cultural level stigma regarding these topics.
And that's exactly the angle that we took a look at it from in our ethics class, right? The stigma about mental health. Obviously, we're not going to be solving the problem in a classroom, but we can talk about how society reacts to people, with mental health challenges as opposed to like physical challenges, because we know what a heart condition means. We know what a broken leg looks like. But when the brain is the challenge, then it can be scary to a person who's just not trained to deal with this. And so I think that introducing young students to this at an early age like this I think really removes some of that fear factor. So I think I completely agree with what you said just now. And as I said just now, when I heard Miss Ganga talking about this what this school is doing in my classroom, I was really surprised. I hadn't heard anything about this before. You said you've been there for about how many years? You said about 6 years now. Do you know how long they've been doing this program?
No, well, when I got there, I was
Yeah.
teaching standard three, and I haven't, I did not had any student with special need during standard three and standard four. When I reached the standard five level, which is ages 10, 10, 11, then that's when I started to notice that some of the students were moved from the special need area to um, the normal classroom.
Hmm.
Yeah, so majority of the time we would actually, I think we would actually have students with special need um, during from the age 10 to 11, 12, so that they can have a little bit more interaction at an older age. But since with ages below than that, no, they don't usually socialize with those normal students.
Okay. And by inviting you here, I want to do some small part in publicizing this. I want people to know that this is something that we're doing in this country. What are some other things, I guess, for both of you, you think we could do to let the public know that these kinds of activities are going on? That we are, integrating. We're trying to, I guess, treat them normally and allow them to have as normal of an experience as possible, and at the same time letting other students become familiar with them. What can we do to let the public know about this? Other than podcasts, obviously, right? Just kind of curious if you had any ideas about that, because I'd love to have more eyes on this kind of a thing.
So, I'll just go first. I think getting the word out, if you know of programs, is really important. It could be officially like this podcast and these talks, but really unofficially is significantly important when you're talking to your family and friends and community members. If you know programs, get it out there and don't be afraid to bring up these topics. Don't be shy to bring up these topics, because that one fights against mental health and neurodiversity stigma, but also lets people know there's help there. There are programs there if they need it or if anybody they know may benefit from it. So it's twofold, right? It's fighting that stigma by saying, I'm not afraid to talk about these programs, I'm not afraid to
Mhm.
talk about these topics, but also you may help someone that you don't even know, because that person may go to their friend and tell them about a program they could really benefit from. So it I think word of mouth and talking and spreading the word is so much more impactful than a lot of us give credit to.
Okay.
I agree with her. I would really suggest word of mouth, spread it out there as well. Uh, we can also, as a school, uh, share the program a lot,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to teachers. Teachers are one of the sources which they can usually spread information. So we can actually help those students that are really in need. Help the parents understand that not only that we are with them, that we can help them, that their children can learn, that their children are not alone, that they are children that we as a community, we can also help them. We can support them in their needs. Also that not to be afraid or if their children are um have mental health problems. Sometimes it can be scary as a parent, probably to know that your child is has a mental health problem. But however, we know that they are afraid if their child gets hurt. Um,
Sure.
but uh, we are always there to help those children. Um, Teachers are always, we can be doctors, we can be nurses, we can be guardians, and We also have sometimes some part of some counseling, um, so we can also help those children that are really are in need. Um, we can also even emphasize it to the in a normal classroom setting. We can teach students that if you have a brother, if you have a sister, or if you know any relative that have a mental health problem, that this is how they can uh, help them, how we can support them in that kind of way. So students also need to play a part. Parents and also teachers, even the entire community, can play a part in helping these students with special needs.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned the classroom environment, teachers and students, because originally in that ethics class, I hadn't actually planned to talk about mental health, but there was a day when a nurse came to visit to give a presentation about mental health, and it was on Galen's campus at the same time as my class. I said, let's take a break and just go listen to that presentation. And I was so impressed by it that I said, we've got to integrate this into what I talk about. And so I asked that nurse, I don't remember her name now, for her slides and for her presentation material, and I've been talking about it ever since. And I think it's one of the best. I think it's one of the more useful things that we do in that class. Um, so, what are some? Are there any other things? I mean, that was several years ago. I don't know what the state of mental health treatment and help is in the country right now. Dr. Deguer, you know what we're doing in the country to help with this problem? Any other programs designed to support mental health?
Yeah, there's a number of programs across the country designed for people of all walks of life. I think one of the things that gets in the way, the barrier of people knowing this, because we know Belize is small, so word should be out there. People should know about these programs, but I think it's that stigma again that makes people not share that they know. I know a counselor who works with this issue, or I know a doctor who can help with this, because of that shame and stigma around the topic. But there are programs across the country. There is the Ministry of Human Development that has a free mental health counseling center in Belize City called Belize City Counseling Center. There's a wonderful website called mindhealthconnect.com that lists mental health practitioners across the country. It gives their information on how to contact them, their specialties, their fees, all of that information. I share it with everybody I can because I think this is a great platform where anybody can go on. They can look at their district and see who's available, who does virtual sessions, and all ranges of issues and topics. But people don't know about it because
Hmm.
people don't want to share this information. So we have some great programs, and those were just a few off the top of my head. Galen provides free counseling to all
Right.
Galen students and staff and faculty, so that's amazing too. But they're out there. We do have a lack. We do need more professionals, but we do have programs in the country.
And you said that website was mindhealthconnect.com.
Yes,
Okay.
mindhealthconnect.com.
Maybe we can provide that link with some information from this podcast as well, because I think all of that helps. Every little bit helps. So,
Absolutely.
um, all right, Miss Gongor. So you said there's a special building dedicated for the students with these mental challenges. How many students approximately would you say would be involved in that? Would be there? Would be sort of situated there?
Um,
Ballpark.
well, right now they have 8 students
Okay.
there. It depends. Every year, sometimes it goes up. The price, the numbers goes down. But right now they have 8 students,
Yeah.
and their range is 8 ages. Right now, we there's a 4-year-old, no, 5-year-old um, that is there, and it ranges from 5 to um, I think the oldest one was the one in my class, which is he's 13, but he's
Okay.
in my class.
And what's the general population of your school overall? Because, well, I guess, yeah. Well, how many students attend the school just overall?
We have a total of about 500 students.
Okay. Okay.
That's
The reason,
from this. Sorry.
yeah, no. The reason I'm asking is because I want people to know this is not just one or two cases, right? I mean, there's a certain percentage of the population that has these challenges, and so, if you don't, you know somebody who's a relative or a friend who has these issues to deal with, and so I think it doesn't make sense for us to pretend that it doesn't exist. right? So I think it's good for us to talk about the numbers, how many people are involved, and the percentages and so on, because it makes it real. I think when you see the numbers there. Sorry, you were
Not
going to say something.
not all the students from well, we don't have, let's say, a special need in every classroom. um, like I mentioned, they usually have ages. If they really are diagnosed with a mental health, then they would automatically go to the special need, to the special ed classroom. If they are not, then we would actually find them if at the standard 5, standard 6 class. We would find like maybe one or two in a classroom,
Hmm.
um, to be there. And we would actually work with those students. At the beginning, it's really very challenging for the teacher as well as the students, um, to have to cope around the child's need.
Does
And
the school offer
then
any support
as
for the
the times
teachers?
by, excuse me.
Sorry, I think my audio just kind of glitched out. I was just asking if the school offers any support for the teachers who have those students in their classrooms.
Uh, yes, in one way, yes, we do. The teachers do have support from the parent, from the principal, and from the admin, entire admin. Um, they like the one that was in our classroom. He would do the math. Like, let's say he's in a math class, and
Hmm.
the teacher would actually give him work at his level. We would provide books at his level, and so that he can actually work. Also, uh, the principal or the vice principal, they would ask, how is this child doing? Is he misbehaving, or is there anything we can do to support the child, and so on. um, but they would usually ask, especially for those children.
Okay. So I think we've already begun to answer this question, but what can we do? Other than just talking about it, is there anything practical that Belizeans can do to help to spread awareness, alleviate the stigmas, and to just kind of generally make things easier for everyone? I guess that's an open question for either of you.
I do want to comment just back on the numbers, right? We do have to
Yeah.
recognize that there is most likely many, many more Belizeans who have these challenges because of, again, I'm going to be a broken record, the stigma. Many people do not want to get diagnosed or bring their children to get
Absolutely.
diagnosed. So I just do want to mention that the numbers are probably a lot lower than what we'd see if that stigma didn't exist. And to answer your question, what can the average person do? And you said besides talk, I'm going to say talk again.
Okay.
I do think the most biggest, most impactful thing that anybody can do is talk about their experience
Mm.
and be open to having other people come to them to talk about theirs. And I think right there is where we dissolve mental health and neurodiverse stigma, is sharing your experience, because you're telling other people it's okay to share yours. You are not alone in this. This is something I've been through or someone I've known. It's not something to be ashamed about. This
Right.
is a way each and every one of us can fight against this stigma and create small changes where we can. We don't have to go out and do big mental health campaigns, even though, I wish every person would do that. But
Sure.
the average person can do is share. Don't be afraid. Don't feel ashamed, and be open to other people sharing to you.
Yeah, thank you for that. That idea of the unreported populations, the ones who kind of suffer in silence, I think that's true for any kind of stigmatized population, any kind of vulnerable people, and this is certainly a clear example of that. So yeah, we shouldn't let the numbers fool us, and we shouldn't assume that it's just a rare thing that it just happens in a corner in the dark or something. People do deal with this. People do live with these conditions, and so we absolutely have to be sensitive to that, I think. Um, Miss Ganga, as I said, and by the way, don't worry. I say the word stigma all the time when we're talking about this because I think it is one of the biggest issues. It is we just repeat the word until it becomes normal that okay, this is something that's happening. Yeah, Miss Ganga, I know that before this interview, you were trying to contact the people who are actually kind of involved in organizing this. I'm wondering if you have any. like contact information for them if anybody who's listening to this wants to learn more about what your school is doing? Maybe they live in the area, maybe they're thinking about sending their child to that school, or they want to know more about it. Can you give us any contact information from that where we could and I do encourage people to learn as much as they can about these things.
The only contact information I can give you is the school phone number.
Okay.
Um, so far, and for anyone who wants, like, let's say, have us questions concerning this mental health or special need, they can contact the secretary, and then she'll be willing to um, pass on the information to the principal. One of the things or reasons why we don't usually give the information, like, let's say, to teachers and so on, um, it's because it's one of the protocols from the Ministry of Education. Um,
Mm.
they're very secure with with the children with special need. They're
I understand that. Yes.
they don't want no harm. So they don't this they don't they are the very they disclosure everything. So they would okay, they would say, you know what, if you want information, it's only goes directly to the school. So
And that
I
makes
can give
sense,
you
I
the
think. Yeah, if you give us the phone number, maybe we can include it with the information for this podcast, like with Dr. Daguerre's website there. But I think that's a good aspect you're raising there. While we want to talk about this in general terms, we have to be really sensitive with the kinds of information we share about individuals or about institutions and so on. So I completely appreciate what you just said. Yes, we do have to be cautious about how we approach this and the kind of tone we use when we're addressing it. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
Um, I think we've been on for a while. This is a bit longer than our typical podcast, so I think we'll need to close things up soon. But I want to ask each of you, just is there anything else you'd like us to know? Is there anything else you'd like to add to this conversation that you want the country or our listeners to be aware of? Open floor. Please share with us anything that comes to mind about this that you think would be a good closing thought.
Okay, I just want to say to the viewers, to whoever's listening or watching, remember that you have the power to help change the stigma in this country regarding mental health and neurodiversity, starting in your home with your friends, your family, and your community by, again, not being afraid or shying away from these topics. Don't be afraid to correct people when you hear them saying something stigmatizing,
Mm.
and share your story if you feel like you can do that. And if you can't, be open to others sharing their story with you, because the power does really lie in each one of us. We can change this little by little.
Thank you. Ms. Gongo, any last words for our audience?
um, well, I just would like to say to always be on the positive side, to always look at these as children as um, one of your own. Whenever you are in front of them, they are also human. They have feelings, and treat them with respect, treat them with love. They are people that they can uh, learn that they are very uh, positive parents as well, for always uh, encourage your children to love them, to help them that they can learn, because these children listen to you. They know what you're doing. They know what you're saying,
Mm.
and don't be afraid to take a challenge. Whenever you see a student with a mental health problem, help them, guide them, love them, teach them the right thing. Um, and always help other students to know what these children can go through, because if you don't teach them, then they won't be able to understand what these other children are going through. Not everybody learns the same way, and not
Mhm.
everybody is the same. However, uh, learn to get along with everyone, have a safe environment for these children to always be willing to learn. um, yeah, I guess that's it.
Thank you very much. And thank you both of you for joining me. This is a really, I think, important and to me, just a fascinating subject to discuss. I wish we had all night to talk about this. But hopefully, what we've done here tonight will contribute some small part to making some people's lives better.
Thank you for
So,
having me.
of course. And to our audience, I want to thank you for giving us your time and attention for listening to this. And please tune in next week for another session. We're going to be talking again about technology and computer science, and maybe some other interesting things as well. So thank you very much for being here, and I hope to see you again soon. Good night.